wanted to be able to process the fuel, to produce the hydrogen gas from water and do it economically and be able to control its firing, go in the engine to allow the Volkswagen engine to run.
Throughout history, life-changing inventions like the light bulb and the internet have reshaped our world. Yet, beyond these celebrated advances lie hidden technologies, brilliant ideas that never saw the light of day. Stifled by corporate interests, cloaked in government secrecy, or overlooked by skeptical scientists, these innovations were kept in the shadows, never reaching their true potential. Join us as we uncover 10 forgotten inventions that might have radically changed our world. Number 10. The Ogle Carburetor. Tom Ogle, a garage mechanic from El Paso, Texas, who taught himself mechanics in his teenage, was in the headlines in the 1970s because of an invention that appeared incredible. The Ogle Carburetor was his invention, which he said improved fuel usage greatly while the world was enduring an oil crisis. Ogle invented a car device that was designed to drive more than 100 miles per gallon, which created much public interest and optimism about better fuel economy. Unlike other engines of that traditional creation that used carburetors to mix air and fuel for combustion, Ogle's invention was an engine that eliminated both the carburetor and fuel pump from its making. Instead of this, he presented a black box, which, in essence, sprayed fuel and then burned the gasoline before it got into the engine, and as such, very little gasoline was needed to run the engine. This groundbreaking approach implied not only savings for consumers, but also a potential reduction in oil dependence and vehicle emissions. In 1977, Ogle showcased his modified 1970 Ford Galaxy, which demonstrated remarkable fuel efficiency, creating a media frenzy. His invention gained the attention of investors and major corporations, all interested in its potential to transform fuel consumption. Despite the excitement, the automotive industry remained skeptical, questioning how Ogle's carburetor could achieve such efficiency without major engine modifications. Unfazed, Ogle stood by his invention, turning down high offers for his patents in hopes of seeing a broader use of his technology. Tragically, Ogle's journey ended abruptly in 1981 when he passed away at just 24 under suspicious circumstances. His death was officially ruled as an overdose involving alcohol and prescription drugs, but many of his friends suspected foul play. The timing of his death, given the enormous financial stakes surrounding his invention, led to conspiracy theories. Some suspected the oil industry, viewing his invention as a threat, while others speculated that car manufacturers might have been involved, fearing the potential disruption to their business. After Ogle's death, his invention faded from public memory. Number 9. The hemp body car. During the Industrial Revolution and World War II in the 1940s, Henry Ford, who was notable for introducing the Model T into the market during the early part of the 20th century, came with further inventions that were quite out of order with the production norms of the then worlds. For this genius mind that was already noted for his creative thinking about how to do things more innovatively, it was time to take it to the next level. That was not just about environmental sustainability, which is just a word that has picked worldwide attention more recently. His vision was to create a car not only powered by biomass fuel, but also crafted from it, with hemp as the primary material. This eco-friendly vehicle, later dubbed the Ford 420, stirred intrigue and raised questions. How could the authorities restrict or condemn a car entirely made from hemp? Ford's commitment to renewable resources was no passing interest. He had long championed integrating agriculture with industry, convinced that farms could be vital sources of raw materials for manufacturing. The concept of the hemp car was a direct product of this belief, showcasing Ford's dedication to exploring alternative materials and energy sources. Built from a composite material containing hemp fibers mixed with other plant-based elements, the car's body was lightweight, durable and biodegradable, a rare combination in automotive design. This innovative material boasted a tensile strength reportedly 10 times that of steel, enhancing both safety and environmental sustainability. Taking his vision further, Ford designed the car to run on hemp biofuel made from cannabis seeds. This choice aligned with his forward-thinking plan to reduce reliance on non-renewable energy sources. Hemp biofuel was seen as a viable, environmentally friendly gasoline substitute that would produce less pollution and put America on the right track for fuel independence. When the car made from hemp was launched in the market in 1941, everybody was waiting for it to be produced. One of the most memorable and effective advertisement scenarios implied the actual destruction of the car. Ford used a sledgehammer to hammer the vehicle made of hemp, and it became clear that the material could handle it and was incredibly strong. However, despite the excitement and potential, Ford's hemp car never progressed beyond its initial debut. Several challenges arose, hindering its further development. At the time, the petroleum industry was expanding rapidly and establishing itself as essential to the global economy, making it hard for alternative fuels and materials to gain traction. The oil industry's significant economic and political influence overshadowed projects like Ford's hemp car, while the strategic importance of petroleum made it a high priority. Adding to these obstacles, hemp cultivation faced increasing restrictions due to its association with psychoactive cannabis strains, which intensified legal and cultural resistance to Ford's project. As World War II escalated, industrial priorities shifted heavily towards wartime production, pushing the hemp car to the sidelines. Ultimately, Ford's ambitious project, with its potential to revolutionize the automotive industry through sustainable practices, was largely forgotten, a casualty of powerful industries, shifting societal priorities, and a cultural environment not ready for such radical innovation. Number 8. Cavity structural effect. Viktor Grebennikov might sound like a character from a science fiction novel, yet his story is firmly grounded in the fascinating world of entomology and an unusual phenomenon he termed the cavity structural effect, or CSE. Grebennikov, a self-taught Russian entomologist, devoted years to studying insects, convinced that they concealed secrets to extraordinary abilities, such as anti-gravity. In the early 1980s, Grebennikov's life took an unexpected twist during an exploration of the vast Siberian steppe. While lying down for a rest, he suddenly experienced strange symptoms, headaches, a ringing in his ears, and a peculiar metallic taste in his mouth. Beneath him was not just the Siberian soil, but an entire underground beehive city. This unusual encounter ignited his fascination with the architectural brilliance of bee nests and their unique structural properties. Driven by relentless curiosity, Grebennikov began experimenting with parts of the bee nest. He noted an unusual warmth radiating from the honeycomb structures, a sensation defying conventional scientific instruments. Fascinated, he developed a hypothesis suggesting that the honeycomb's geometric patterns generated a force field capable of altering the environment in mysterious ways. Grebennikov's investigations intensified as he turned his attention to insect chitin shells. Under a microscope, he discovered an unusually rhythmic, highly ordered structure that seemed to demonstrate anti-gravitational properties. In one remarkable experiment, he aligned two chitin plates, causing one to hover in mid-air briefly before settling down again. This observation spurred the next phase of his research, centered on harnessing the anti-gravitational potential of these natural structures. Convinced that his findings held revolutionary implications, Grebennikov constructed a platform fitted with thousands of insect chitin shells on its underside. According to Grebennikov, this platform acted as an anti-gravity device, reaching speeds of up to 1,500 kilometers per hour and ascending as high as 300 meters. Remarkably, he claimed it rendered its rider invisible from below and created a force field that neutralized inertia and dynamic pressure. Despite the astounding nature of his claims, Grebennikov faced intense skepticism from the scientific community, which viewed his work as implausible. In 1992, Grebennikov attempted to patent his invention but was unsuccessful. Undeterred, he documented his discoveries in a book, complete with full-color images, potentially showcasing photographs from a museum demonstration of his invention. Yet just before publication, the book was mysteriously altered. Hundreds of pictures and crucial schematics essential to understanding his work were removed. This unexplained censorship raised numerous questions about the motives behind modifying his publication. Number 7. Water fuel cell. Here is another tale that delves into the complex reality of forbidden technologies and the suppression of their inventors. Stanley Meyer, an innovative mind from Ohio, significantly reshaped the conversation around alternative energy during the 1980s with his groundbreaking invention known as the water fuel cell. This device was not just any ordinary electrolysis apparatus. Meyer boldly claimed that his invention could efficiently split water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen using minimal electrical input and resonant frequencies, a technique that was unheard of at the time. Meyer famously showcased his revolutionary technology in a dune buggy that he claimed could run solely on water, utilizing the gases generated by his cell for combustion. Just think of the car moving along the highway and having its tank full of nothing but purified water, which can be from the rain, seas, or even melting snow. In addition to inspiring the commoner's innovative spark, it had the potential to give the world an inexhaustible source of clean and renewable energy to replace such resource-depleting oil-based fuels. This brought a lot of hype surrounding Meyer's invention, known as the water fuel cell. He was captured by local news producers who presented him as a man launching one of humanity's ageless fantasies into reality by developing water vehicles that run on water. However, while Meyer's discoveries enthralled the general public, scientists dismissed his claims with considerable suspicion and doubt, even arguing over the credibility and the methods by which Meyer arrived at these conclusions. Unfortunately, Meyer's inspiring story would come to a sudden, bizarre halt on March 20th, 1998, when he was eating out. In a rather tense moment, Meyer rushed out of the house, gasping and clutching his throat while shouting, "They poisoned me." After a few minutes, he fell and died. The death cause was mentioned as a cerebral aneurysm. Nevertheless, this reason did not help stop the spate of conspiracy theories. Most of Meyer's staunch supporters were convinced that his invention made him a viable target since he threatened the monopoly that the oil industry held across the world. Following his untimely death, interest in Meyer's water fuel cell continued to surge, with various enthusiasts and groups attempting to replicate his groundbreaking technology. Despite their dedicated efforts, they have yet to be able to conclusively demonstrate a working model that reproduces the impressive results Meyer claimed. This inability to verify his claims only fueled further speculation and mystery surrounding the feasibility of his so-called radiant energy device. The questions remain: was there truly something revolutionary about Meyer's invention, or was it simply a case of science being stifled by powerful interests? Number 6. The Wasp X-Jet. The search for innovative VTOL systems has led to the creation of many experimental designs. One of the most intriguing among them is the Williams X-Jet by Williams International, a company famous for its skills in turbofan technology. It evolved into a promising, newly developed VTOL system, or the Williams Aerial Systems Platform, WASP, otherwise known as the X-Jet. This small and light vehicle to be used in the aircraft was driven by a turbofan engine designed in a rather simple, yet highly technologically developed manner that set it apart from all other VTOL creations of the same period. Written for one operator, X-Jet had an innovative control scheme where the operator could move the plane in the direction he wanted by leaning and manipulating the power. Due to this simple yet creative control system added to the need for speed and powerful motors, the X-Jet proved maneuverable in any direction, gaining acceleration and hovering ability and torsion in every axle. The aircraft could fly for a maximum period of 45 minutes and featured the capability to move at a top speed of 60 miles per hour. It was indeed a great car for going around. Nonetheless, the Williams X-Jet was propelled to the cutting edge of Formula One racing. With great design and even greater capabilities, the Williams X-Jet struggled in the 1980s. The United States Army considered the X-Jet for that reason when examining new VTOL technologies. The military has long been intrigued by such a system due to improved transportation and tactical agility over conventional helicopters and airplanes. The X-Jet presented an intriguing option for individual soldier mobility. However, after critical analysis, the US Army determined that though the Williams X-Jet was scientifically advanced, it needed to have the capabilities offered by helicopters and miniaturized crewless aerial vehicles, UAVs. This was due to the X-Jet's limited range and payload as compared to helicopters, the rapidly evolving technological development of UAVs offering flexibility that was no longer worth endangering a pilot's life over. Also, the practical problems arising from the design of the X-Jet, particularly the training regimen for pilots to fly the craft, mean that it introduced extra operational issues for adaptation to military use. Number 5. The Radiant Energy Device. In the 1930s, in the midst of growing modern physics and unprecedented investigative activity in this field, T. Henry Morey came up with an idea that could hardly be called anything other than science fiction. He, however, introduced the world to his radiant energy device, a new invention in the market that he said could harness forces from space. For more, This apparatus was able to capture an unknown, untapped source of power that would revolutionize energy generation as a source of power. Murray, an electrical engineer and physicist born in Salt Lake City, Utah, used the theories of some of the early scientists who had experimented with electromagnetism and radioactivity, including Nikola Tesla. From these intellectual explorations, Murray distilled a vision. There is always a kind of power all around us, and if this could be tapped as a source of energy, we would never run out of fuel. This device, which was supposed to be utilized to transform this cosmic energy into electricity, had been under construction for the past 20s. Its main part included the valve, a semiconductor that would receive heat from an environment and turn it into high-voltage electricity. Murray's approach did not claim to overthrow the laws of thermodynamics. Rather, it was a process of conversion, transforming existing energy from one form to another. His demonstrations of the device were nothing short of spectacular. In various exhibitions, he successfully powered lights, radios, and motors before an audience of witnesses, all without any visible connection to a conventional power source. Yet, despite these impressive displays, the scientific community greeted Murray's claims with deep skepticism. Critics pointed out that the device's operations and the underlying theory were not sufficiently explained or documented to allow for independent verification or replication. Murray's hesitance compounded this skepticism to disclose the details of his invention fully. He cited concerns over intellectual property theft and the potential misuse of his technology as reasons for his secrecy. Additionally, Murray's ideas did not align neatly with established physics, which only fueled further doubt among his peers. As if the scientific pushback wasn't enough, Murray also narrated tales of sabotage and persecution. He claimed that his revolutionary work had caught the attention of powerful entities within the existing energy sector, entities that perceived his invention as a direct threat to their dominance. According to Moore, these forces went to great lengths to stifle his progress, including threats to his safety, break-ins at his laboratory, and deliberate damage to his equipment. Despite these challenges, Murray remained resolute, continually refining his device and championing its potential benefits. Nevertheless, without the necessary support to advance his work, his invention gradually receded from the spotlight, overshadowed by the very skepticism and hostility that plagued it from the start. After Moore's death, his radiant energy device slipped into the shadows, largely forgotten except by a few who remembered it as a peculiar yet fascinating chapter in the history of alternative energy research and energy machine development. Number 4. Jet fuel processor Paul Panton. Paul Panton was an inventor who made bold claims about turning waste into energy with his revolutionary Jet Global environmental energy technology, Jet fuel processor, developed in the 1990s. This device promised a significant leap in energy efficiency by transforming a mix of 80% water and 20% fuel into a clean-burning plasma gas. Panton asserted that his technology could power engines using only a fraction of the typical fuel, dramatically reducing emissions and potentially decreasing our reliance on conventional fossil fuels. The Jet fuel processor operated on what Panton called plasma technology. According to him, it used a reaction chamber where vapors from a fuel-water mix were transformed into plasma, which could then power internal combustion engines. Intriguingly, Panton suggested that his system could run on a variety of fuel sources, including used motor oil, old paint, and even coffee grounds. This presented an exciting prospect for drastically reducing waste while providing a more sustainable energy solution. However, Panton's journey was filled with challenges. Despite demonstrating his invention at various showcases, he faced rampant skepticism from the scientific community. It became worse when the legal concerns and allegations of fraud surfaced into the real glare, which gave the public a raw deal with his work. Finally, Panton was institutionalized, and many of his backers believed that this was a stratagem to neutralize and marginalize his invention. This drastic move left very many question marks on his head about the authenticity of this revolutionary work. This invention and the ensuing struggle of Victor Schauberger, an Austrian forester, naturalist and inventor, exemplify his lifelong dedication to studying the flow of water and energy in nature. Schauberger was born in 1885, and based on his studies and observations of nature, he made theories and inventions that many associated with perpetual motion, a machine or system that can continuously run on its own with no need to be supplied by an external energy source. This led to the creation of inventories documenting the natural patterns of water flow and the energies contained within it, with the intention of utilizing these insights effectively. However, both Panton and Schauberger represent struggles that any innovator who dares dream of a world where energy sources are significantly different will identify with. Their stories discuss how the best inventions and innovations have never been without controversy and doubts. While researching potential new energy solutions, we are left to wonder about the contributions Panton and Schauberger made as creative pioneers in the process of trying to unlock sustainable energy solutions for the modern world. However, as we can see, Schauberger never considered himself an inventor of perpetual motion machines. He therefore directed his energy towards affirmative uses of the Earth's power, especially the electricity found in vortices of water bodies. Schauberger's actions stemmed from his belief in the understanding of nature and its laws. He felt modern technology and engineering failed to capture and apply in their pursuits of energy generation without negative consequences on the natural environment. His famous saying, "Understand nature, then copy nature," encapsulates his philosophy. Schauberger proposed that water, when allowed to flow in a vortex, could generate its energy through implosion, a concept contrary to the explosion-based technologies like combustion engines that dominate human innovation. One of his most significant contributions was his research into vortex dynamics. He noticed that water in rivers and streams naturally follows a meandering spiral path, which he believed was crucial for maintaining the water's vitality and energy. By imitating these natural patterns, Schauberger invented several devices aimed at producing energy or propulsion. One of those inventions is repulsine, which was a saucer-shaped machine that propels through waves formed on it to yield air or water vortices. This invention interested many people, and people started discussing that Schauberger had found out the secret of perpetual motion and the source of free energy, though such speculation was considered to be baseless. Unfortunately for him, his work was seen and appreciated by the Nazi government of the Second World War. Someone is said to have compelled him to invent for the military, and this proved to be a horrific exercise to him, thus turning out to be wary of many inventions that he developed in the future. Unfortunately for Schauberger, he moved on to develop his inventions after the war, but they failed to capture the market and the academic acceptance he desired. They grew to a new level when he was arrested by the US intelligence agents and detained for 9 months while doing his work. For a year, he was kept under South African military detention, and all his documents and prototypes were taken from him. He was asked about his inventions and wartime experience. This episode has fueled debates on whether the advances made by Schauberger in tapping natural energies were deemed revolutionary enough to be stifled by the US administration in order to maintain the status quo in scientific, economic, and political fields. Due to Schauberger's views on technology and the world, his ideas continue to be embraced in areas of unconventional energy and Earth-based design. Such a focus on honoring and emulating the world's processes is especially important as society is searching for efficient solutions in terms of renewable energy sources. His experience demonstrates that all pioneers working in the sphere of alternative energy have an uncertain path between invention and oppression. Number 3, the Hendershot generator. In the late 1920s, an American inventor named Lester Hendershot made a startling claim. He had developed a device capable of generating free energy, dubbed the Hendershot generator. This invention was said to utilize the Earth's magnetic field to produce electricity without any need for conventional fuel sources. The groundbreaking device was described as a self-running generator, employing an intricate array of coils and capacitors to produce energy independently. Hendershot's initial demonstrations were spectacular, reportedly powering light bulbs and motors, igniting the imaginations of the public, the medium, and potential investors. Many were attracted by the idea of a revolution that would bring a radical change in energy production and consumption. That being said, not all were excited about the idea of such disruptive technology becoming a reality. Surprisingly, the moment people grew interested in Hendershot's work, there were efforts made to bring him down. Critics attempted to debunk the efficacy of his generator by publicly showcasing a device they claimed was identical to Hendershot's, but which failed to perform. This act of defamation served as a clear indication to Hendershot's supporters that powerful interests were determined to undermine his invention. Despite facing significant skepticism and opposition, Hendershot continued to refine his generator, convinced of its potential. By the late 1960s, he believed he had achieved an important breakthrough, enough to catch the interest of the US Navy. With renewed hope, he prepared 2 models and a detailed 56-page proposal. Unfortunately, his advances were rebuffed, and his proposal was ultimately denied. Misfortune came in April 1961 when Hendershot's son found his father dead, an incident that was later described as a suicide. Nevertheless, due to the less extensive investigation regarding the death, many people, including his family, thought that it was a case of murder. They concluded that Hendershot's work could be particularly damaging to the financial earnings of large-scale energy companies. Allegedly, Hendershot had even been warned by a major corporation to cease all work on his generator under threat of dire consequences. Reports suggested he received $225,000 to halt his research for 2 decades, underscoring the lengths to which these corporations would go to protect their interests. Hendershot had shared his concerns about personal safety with his family, highlighting just how serious the threats against him were. His mysterious death and the stifling of his groundbreaking work continue to stir intense curiosity and debate. The story of Lester Hendershot serves as a compelling narrative about the clash between innovation and established interests, raising questions about the potential suppression of revolutionary technologies in the face of powerful economic forces. Number 2. Project XA. The story of Dr. James D. Mould and his cancer-free cigarette should outrage every smoker and anyone who has lost a loved one to tobacco smoking. While rumors have long circulated about tobacco companies being dishonest about the health risks of smoking, the revelations of Mould's groundbreaking work and its subsequent neglect highlight the industry's greed. Dr. Mould embarked on a pioneering effort to develop a cigarette that wouldn't cause cancer, a project known as Project XA. With initial support from Leo and Myers, Mould tirelessly collaborated with the Add Little company on this ambitious task. After 25 years of relentless work, Mould invented the XA, or palladium cigarette, which used palladium and magnesium nitrate to eliminate cancer-causing chemicals in cigarette smoke. Lab tests showed these cigarettes effectively reduced cancer incidence in lab animals. Despite initial enthusiasm, company executives abruptly withdrew their support for the project, and the palladium cigarette never reached production. The fundamental reason was simple and infuriating. The attorneys on the company side opined that by introducing a new product in the safer market, the public, which had used the previous, comparatively more dangerous products, would continuously drag the company to courts. This decision paints the tobacco industry as allergic to anywhere near the protection of its profits, regardless of its detrimental impacts on public health. Could such a cancer-free cigarette change the tobacco industry? Number 1. The original electric car. It was in the late 1990s that General Motors brought into the commercial world its first mass-produced electric car, which it named the EV1. This vehicle came out at a time when social sensitivity to air pollution, oil reliance, and other impacts of normal gasoline automobiles was beginning to dawn. The EV1, when first released, was a limited run of 800 units produced for leasing only, thus gaining a solid fan base. Those who drove it said the car was efficient and believed that the new vehicle pointed to a brighter, environmentally friendly future for the auto industry. Nevertheless, the Chevy Merry about the one increased in 1999, a few years after it was manufactured. The company cited economic reasons for its decision, claiming the car's batteries had a limited range that made it difficult to meet consumer expectations for convenience and long-distance travel, ultimately labeling the vehicle as unprofitable. However, this official rationale could have sat better with many observers. Skeptics and passionate supporters of the electric vehicle movement speculated that there was more to the story. Many believed the oil industry, feeling threatened by the rise of electric vehicles that could disrupt their business, exerted pressure to suppress this emerging technology. The response from General Motors was severe and unprecedented. The company didn't just stop making the EV1, they launched a campaign to retrieve and destroy every last EV1. This wasn't merely a recall, it was a deliberate effort to prevent these vehicles from becoming symbols of a technological revolution. Instead of allowing them to remain with their users or preserving them as historical artifacts, GM crushed them, effectively erasing a significant chapter in automotive history. This extreme measure has been widely interpreted as an attempt to stifle the advancement of electric vehicle technology and protect the traditional automotive market dominated by internal combustion engines. The saga of the EV1's rise and fall has been captured in various documentaries and discussions, most notably in the 2006 film Who Killed the Electric Car? This film explores the intricate web of corporate and commercial interests that orchestrated the demise of this pioneering electric vehicle. From the water fuel cell and the Wasp X-Jet to the original electric car, these innovations have shaped the landscape of energy technology. Which of these innovations captured your interest the most?